Improved to a perfect 4-0 with complimentary plays here since Monday night as I cashed in on Wednesday for the second straight night with the Detroit Tigers. Not only that, but also on Wednesday, you got Brad Wilton's latest 50-dime winner, his NL East total of the years with the Phillies and the Braves going over the posted price by a total of 5.5 runs. You got that $79 play for free as the charity play of the week, which won for the 16th time in 24 weeks, for the 49th time in 79 weeks overall. For those of you that are newcomers to the site this football season, this is a program that I created a little over 4.5 years ago. And in that time, we together, a family of caregivers that we have created, have easily contributed well over $300,000 to people in times of financial need. And this time I want to quickly tell you the story about a little girl by the name of Ava, who was only born September 15th. So today she is 2 weeks old. Now, this little girl, her mother found out in this 37th week of pregnancy, late in her term, that her daughter was going to be born into this world with a form of dwarfism. And there's like 200-300 different forms of dwarfism. Tests that were performed, they won't even know the results of what type that this little girl even has for 2 to 3 months. But needless to say, the difficulties that this little girl has encountered in the brief 2 weeks that she has been here on this earth have been many. She is currently in the neonatal critical care unit still. Doctors aren't sure if her motor skills are going to develop. Doctors aren't sure if she's even going to be able to see. Listen, somebody put up a charity donation page for her. And I'm asking you now on a quid pro quo basis to make an investment in this little girl's future, to give. I don't care if it's $1. I don't care if it's $5. If you got the play for free, I'm asking you to make a donation. As I always like to say, you can never have enough good karma. And I'd hate to be in that position when karma comes back and bites you in the ass. So again, if you happen to be watching the video here on my page, you can just scroll down and you can see all the information. Again, make a donation. It's the right thing to do. And join the family of caregivers that me, with your help, that we've created over the past 4.5 years. Because bottom line, guys, it's the right thing to do. And just imagine if that little girl was part of your family, how you would feel. Okay, guys, let's get to the complimentary play. First of all, Cincinnati and Miami. What a difficult schedule the Dolphins have been saddled with by the schedule makers. They open up the season with a 12-10 loss in Seattle. Then they come back to Miami. Then they go to New England. They fall down in that game. What was it, 24-3 early? They rally, come back, still lose by a touchdown. They come home last week and a miserable performance against the Cleveland Browns. Sluggish throughout, found themselves trailing, eventually taking an 11-point lead. They were lucky they didn't blow all of that either. Eventually managed to win the game, but failed to cover. And now here they are, short week, playing for the third time this season. The season's only 4 weeks old, on the road once more against a Cincinnati team that's finding that 2016 is not like 2015. Remember last year the Bengals got out of the gate so quickly, getting off to that 8-0 start? Well, that's not how this season is broken. In fact, if it wasn't for a field goal in the closing minute at New York, the Bengals would be staring at an 0-3 start, and Marvin Lewis probably would have been given the pink slip already. Well, Big Marvin might be getting the pink slip if his Bengals don't win tonight, but I think they will win tonight. And I think that they will win big here tonight as well. What has surprised me is that this line, which was 7.5 earlier in the week, and earlier today, started showing upward movement to 8 and even some 8.5s at some of those notorious offshore books where you always pay extra for the chalks. This line has actually come down here at around 4 o'clock Eastern time. It's actually down to a solid 7.5 at most books in Vegas and offshore. So guys, listen, again, you always got to price shop. Those notorious offshore books where you always are paying more for the favorites. Well, hey, listen, if you're on Miami tonight, God bless you, play there. But if you're playing the Bengals tonight, you've got to make sure you're playing at the right place. And either way, if this line is 7 or 7.5, I'm absolutely buying down the half point. But in reality, I don't think you're needing. I think the Bengals tonight kind of excise a few demons, and get the easy double-digit win and cover in this particular contest. I think that the key here tonight is going to be for Cincinnati to establish its ground game against a Miami team that has really been kind of lousy in terms of stopping the ground game anyway. Now, surprisingly, the Bengals had their best ground output in 3 games against the Broncos last week. Who would have thought that? But Jeremy Hill, finally got it going with 2 touchdowns and 97 yards rushing. Well, tonight, they've got to establish the run because Andy Dalton has just constantly been finding himself on his ass here through the first 3 games. 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, because he's throwing the ball too damn much because they've been unable to run. Also, the pass protection has really been lousy. He has already been sacked 12 times. But then again, consider, he's played the Jets, he's played the Steelers in the rain and the mud, and he's played the Broncos. Well, the Jets and the Broncos absolutely tormented him. Hell, the Steelers only have 1 sack in 3 games this season. It came against Dolphins. I don't think the Dolphins are going to be able to get that much pressure on him tonight. Now, the other side of the ball, I'm expecting the Bengals defense to rise to the occasion tonight with the return of their linebacker, Burfict, because he's really the heart and soul of that defense. He, of course, was suspended for the first 3 games of the season, and he's back tonight, and what a difference I think he will make for a defense that was giving up 25 points and 109 yards rushing per game through the first 3 weeks of the season. Remember, this is a defense that last year gave up 15.7 points and 82.2 yards rushing a game. That's the difference that he alone, not necessarily by himself, obviously, but I think he alone will definitely spur an increase in production in terms of stinginess for that defense tonight, and also an increase in attitude for that defense. I think tonight Cincinnati puts it together. Again, I think Cincinnati wins this game easily by a couple of touchdowns, and I think the Bengals are a great play tonight. Now, Texas Tech and Kansas tonight. You've got a total sitting right around 80, 81 points. If you think I'm going to tell you to play the under here, you are sorely mistaken. Who is the number 1 scoring team in college football this year? Well, that, of course, is Louisville at 63.5 points a game. Who is number 2? Big surprise, right? Texas Tech averaging 61 points a game. Behind that air raid attack, I don't have to tell you what a prolific offense they have in terms of throwing the ball. But listen, I think tonight they also are going to have an ability to run the ball as well, because this Kansas run defense is giving up 235 yards rushing per game. Now, the question tonight is, will Kansas be able to put points on the board? Because when your total's sitting at 80 and you're playing at home and the home team is averaging 61 points a game, you got to feel pretty comfortable that the home team, this being Texas Tech, is going to get their 60 points tonight. So you have to say, is Kansas going to be able to get 20, 25 points? Well, for a team that's lost 39 straight games on the road, of course, that is a big question to be answered. Now, listen, they opened up the season by beating up a cupcake Rhode Island 55-6 at home. Then they lost outright at home as a 2-point dog to Ohio 37-21. Now, even though Ohio lost in triple overtime as a 17.5-point favorite at home to Texas State, a rebuilding Texas State team in the Battle of the Bobcats in their home opener, Ohio still is a pretty decent team from the Mid-American Conference. Now, think of what I just said. A pretty decent team from the Mid-American Conference goes to Lawrence, Kansas, and takes care of business with ease and wins 37-21 against Kansas. That shows you the rebuilding job that Kansas is really tasked with. Following week, Kansas goes to Memphis, loses 43-7. And you say, hey, my God, they only scored 7 points in the road opener. But the fact is, in that contest, they repeatedly shot themselves in the foot because the Jayhawks committed 6 turnovers in that game. But the one thing is this. Memphis, a decent defensive team. Ohio, a decent defensive team. Texas Tech, they play no defense. We saw that in the Arizona State shootout in week number 2 in Tempe. Remember what happened in that game? I mean, my God, it was a nonstop scoring feast. Arizona State put 68 points on the board. I think Arizona State just scored again a couple of minutes ago. And then in their last game 2 Saturdays ago, they were barely able to get by Louisiana Tech at home 59-45. Tech scored 45 points. All we need is Kansas to score 20 points. I think if they show up in Lubbock tonight, they might get 20 points against this Red Raider defense, and that'll give you the over. So again, I'm going to go with Cincinnati. That is by far the better of the 2 free picks, and I'm also going to take the over. in the Texas Tech game. In terms of the Houston-UConn game, I don't know. I mean, I have no opinion on the total, and if I was going to play the side sight unseen, I'd just go, hey, play the Houston Cougars. I mean, Connecticut, they lost to Syracuse last week, right? Game, set, match. That's all I got to say about the Huskies. That'll do it, guys. Wish you well, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow when we do this one more time.